Hello everyone, welcome to this video on two-sample t-test. Today we will look at the details of the two-sample t-test and how it is done on Minitab. Two-sample t-test is used to determine if the means of two independent groups differ and also calculate a range of values that is likely to include the difference between the population means. Standard deviation of the population is not known. We use this test when x or the independent variable is discrete and y or the dependent variable is continuous. Assumptions for this test are that samples are drawn independently from each other with no significant outliers, and data distributions are normal or close to normal. Why we are using close to normal is because it is quite robust to violations of normality. It can still provide valid results in practice. Null hypothesis for a two-sample t-test is mu1 minus mu2 is equal to delta 0. An alternative hypothesis could be either not equal to, greater than, or less than, depending on whether it is a two-tailed or one-tailed test. Mu1 minus mu2 here is the difference between the population means, and delta sub 0 is the hypothesized difference. Test statistic for a two-sample t-test is denoted by t sub 0, and here is the formula, where mu1 minus mu2 is delta, and this is how we calculate the S sub p. Rejection criteria for a two-sample t-test is basis the comparison between the test statistic, that is t sub 0, and a critical value that is calculated from the t distribution table using the significance level, alpha, and the degrees of freedom, which in this case is n1 plus n2 minus 2. Broadly, the steps to conduct a two-sample t-test are as follows. We are familiar with these steps from our previous videos on hypothesis testing, one-way ANOVA, one-sample t-test. At this point, let me refer back to the point where we said that this test is quite robust to the violations of normality. Well, this is acceptable provided the underlying distribution is not highly skewed. Otherwise, we have to opt for a non-parametric test. Remember, the two-sample t-test is also known as the independent sample t-test. Great, let me bring up a common scenario from our daily lives. I wish to know if customer segment A spends more on groceries than customer segment B. Well, now onwards, remember that you can use a two-sample t-test to determine which group or which segment is the highest spender. Exciting, right? Okay, so now let's quickly see how do we conduct a two-sample t-test on Minitab. We click on Stats, Basic Statistics, and two-sample t. We enter the dependent variable in samples and independent variable in subscripts from the left pane. Minitab normally does the test at 95% level of confidence. If we wish to change this percentage, we need to click on the options button and change it there. There are two other methods to conduct a two-sample t-test on this same screen that we're looking at. One using the samples in different columns section. This is useful if we have all the scores in our data set, all the data points entered into Minitab in a different way than the commonly accepted one. The second, or a much easier option, is useful if we have the summarized data. Now, here is the sample Minitab output, the descriptive statistics. We are primarily concerned with the p-value here. If p-value is less than the significance level, we reject the null hypothesis. This means that there is a statistically significant difference between the means of two independent groups. So with this, we conclude our discussion on two-sample t-tests today. Thank you so much for your time, and please do get in touch with me for any queries or feedback. You can also subscribe to the channel to stay updated on future videos. We will meet soon with more interesting topics on hypothesis testing. Till then, stay tuned, enjoy learning, and cheers!